What's up, everybody? This is episode 13 of the PlayStation Effect, a weekly podcast that discusses the past, present, and future of PlayStation. I'm your host, Marco. Joining me is my good friend and co-host, Pablo, and this week it's all about PlayStation's State of Play Showcase, which is going down on June 2nd. So we're going to make some pretty big predictions about what we'll see at the show, but our coverage doesn't just stop there because we're also going to answer the question that other PlayStation shows are perhaps too afraid to ask, which is how much pressure is on PlayStation to deliver. And Pablo, that's exactly where I want to start, because as we all know, PlayStation's had a rough go at it in recent months, man. Blue Point Games closed down. Marathon doesn't sell. Saros doesn't sell. 2D God of War kind of comes and goes. Console prices go up. PS Plus prices followed suit. So, look, man, before we get into predictions, I think we got to talk about it. How much pressure do you think is on PlayStation to get out of this rut with this State of Play?
The truth is that it's a lot of pressure. This being so close to Summer Game Fest and all those festivities, the Xbox press conference, and PlayStation going first, it's time for them to set the bar. I think it's important for them to set up the future and also kind of put people at ease in terms of the short term as well. And they have a lot of heavy lifting to do with this show. This is probably the biggest State of Play that they'll ever have in the PlayStation 5 generation, because this should do a lot for them. You know, there's so much going on. They got to shut the negativity out. They got to put people at ease. And this is the show to do it at. You know, the conversations around the internet, a lot of people who are diehard are even kind of like, yo, what is PlayStation doing? You know, there's a lot of questions in the air that need to be answered. If not answered specifically, but at the very least, say, hey, we understand all the noise and all the mess, but this is what we're going to be doing now and in the future. So huge pressure, man.
I agree with you. I hate to put so much on one showcase to do so much heavy lifting, but we kind of are at a point right now where they're going to have to make something pretty big happen here. And it seems like they're taking some pretty big swings when you think about the fact that they're going to be showing this in theaters and stuff like that. So it does indicate that they are fairly confident in what they have, and that it will be some sort of spectacle, or at least it'll feel like more of a spectacle than your traditional State of Play will do. But I do think that you're right. There's a lot of people talking about PlayStation right now, man, and the conversations are very uncomfortable, but rightfully so. As a consumer, PlayStation has kind of sat in the driver's seat and fallen asleep at the wheel in many respects, and have abused a lot of that market dominance that we know they have with a lot of anti-consumer moves. And we've talked about it very candidly in past episodes, as recently as this past one. But you're right, there's a lot of things riding on this show, and they do need to present the type of showcase that instills confidence back in what they're doing again, and just shows that they haven't lost the plot in terms of what really matters to the PlayStation community.
I think it's time for them to stop taking wins by default, because Xbox is on a new run right now, and they're making a case for their resurgence, and Nintendo's always going to be Nintendo. So these wins by default aren't going to come across that often anymore. So I agree, man.
Yeah, great point. But look, we do have some predictions to make, and we're going to keep these predictions pretty neat and tidy. So we've kind of broken them up into different segments. We're going to do first-party predictions. We are going to address the elephant in the room, that is GTA 6, and then we also are going to go into third-party predictions as well, beyond just GTA 6, to see what we think might be there as well. But we will go round robin to get through the first-party stuff first. So Pablo, prediction number one, we actually both have in common, so we're going to go ahead and address that together here, and that is that we both believe that Cory Barlog's God of War phase spinoff is going to be at the show, particularly as the closer. Now, I think that one seems just in keeping with the theme of how much God of War they've been wanting to give us lately, and how much of an exclamation point they probably want for a showcase that's coming to theaters and these different events and watch parties and stuff. I think this would be one of those moments that could accomplish what you'd want. I think it can be great if they pull it off well. But what are your thoughts on it? Tell me a little bit why you think it could be there and how impactful it can be.
Well, I mean, I think you nailed the why it's going to be there. It's because it is going to be a huge impact. It's God of War. And maybe you and I on this show are a little bit skeptical about the God of War franchise as a whole, but we're in the minority. God of War is huge for them, and people love Kratos, love that franchise. But I do think that a God of War in name only and being something that is completely different from what we've seen is incredibly interesting for me, because it could even put someone like me on board with it, right? Because it is so different and just God of War in name only. And I think that this is something that can really push that franchise forward. They already have the traditional God of Wars happening. There's going to be another God of War. They have the trilogy remake happening. They got that part of God of War, that world. They got that down packed. If you got Cory Barlog skipping out on the sequel to his much beloved God of War 2018 game to do something else, there's something there that he wanted to do with the franchise that was going to be outside of the bounds of God of War when we're thinking about Kratos and his adventures. So that's why I think it's going to be here for sure.
We'll see. In the meantime, man, let's get to our other predictions here for First Party Studios. I'm going to kick to you next.
Yeah, so real quick, my next two are within the theme, and I'll explain that a little later. But my next one is Uncharted 1 Remake, announced with full trailer, gameplay reveal, comparison shots, etc. And that's going to be a winter 26-27 title, maybe December, maybe February next year. Yeah, that's what I think we see next.
Is it remake-itis all over again with PlayStation?
Yes, it is. That's the problem, is that they are reeling. They need to reinvigorate the platform, and so they're going to start picking games that are beloved by people. And so that's the thing that we're going to get into. There's going to be some remakes. It's going to be remake-itis. But the counter to that is I'm a person that I don't think remakes are inherently bad. If they're going to give me remakes of games that I want, then I'm okay. Uncharted 1 Remake, I think it's needed. I'm not a huge fan of Uncharted, but seeing that from the ground up, I would like that.
Yeah, that makes... I mean, I do feel like Uncharted will inevitably make a comeback. Yeah. I was kind of torn on making a prediction for it myself. I ultimately didn't, but I did think about the possibility of them either doing a remake like you predicted, or them just starting a new chapter of the series entirely with his daughter or something like that.
Yeah.
But I couldn't really make heads or tails, and I didn't feel like I wanted to commit to anything yet. But I think one way or the other, you're probably right. It's on its way back to the forefront in some capacity.
Is Naughty Dog going to be involved with the new Uncharted? Is that going to be something where they're going to now have the Heretic Prophet, probably The Last of Us 3, and Uncharted? We'll see.
I've talked about it a lot, but I think that Neil Druckmann has become kind of the Todd Howard of PlayStation, because they want him to do so many things at the same time, and all of them are so beloved. Todd Howard needs to make another Skyrim. Todd Howard needs to make the next Fallout. Todd Howard needs to make the next Indiana Jones. Like, he's got so many different plates to spin, but there's only one of him to go around. And I think the same problem is happening at Naughty Dog, where they wanted to start a new IP, of course, with Intergalactic, which is cool, but you're leaving a lot of people hanging. I think they have a lot of questions to answer, just about, like, they need to have a plan, an overarching, like, strategy, where maybe they do the same thing they just did with the God of War trilogy and say, we're planning to remake all three of the original trilogy. That way they commit to it, and okay, you're not just going to make one remake and then peace out. Like, you're sticking to this plan. So that would be kind of cool if they kind of scale it up that way. But we'll see. As for me, my next prediction here, Until Dawn 2. I think it's going to get shown in some capacity. It's been rumored that Firesprite has been working on it for a couple years now. And honestly, I didn't really believe it was going to happen until the movie came out, which, of course, was god-awful. But it really kind of showed me that they believe that this is an IP they want to stick with and continue building on. And I love the first Until Dawn. I think Supermassive arguably made their best game with Until Dawn. I remember very vividly playing that game a million times to just see different endings and see what happens if certain people die. And I think they're going to bring it back. I do think that much like the first Until Dawn, which had, an actor we all know, Rami Malek, there will be kind of another actor taking that lead role. And I do expect some kind of narrative tie-in to the first game, but I don't know if it's going to go over the greatest because I don't think Until Dawn still has kind of that cachet that it used to have in 2014, 2015, kind of that era where games like this were so novel and different. And now they're just kind of shitting them out left and right. But this is Fire Sprite. Maybe they have some chops that we don't know about and they can pull something great out of this, but we'll have to see, man. I don't know if it's going to go over the greatest though.
Yeah, I did see a rumor that Hayden Panettiere, she's coming back for the sequel.
Yeah. Okay.
And that apparently Peter Stormare, who's like the narrator for a lot of the games.
Yeah. He's creepy, dude. Wasn't he in Constantine as Lucifer?
Yes. And he was.
Yeah.
And he was also the Russian in Bad Boys 2. He came in there. He was like insane in that movie.
Yeah,
he's an awesome character actor. You put him in anything, he's the creepiest thing on screen for a long time. Dude. Yeah, he's awesome. Yeah.
Now I'm kind of excited. If he's going to be a part of it, that feels very familiar to the first game. So now I'm kind of getting won over a little bit. Let's move on, man. What's your next prediction for us?
I'm going to keep going down the path of remakes. Infamous 1 and 2 remake announced, but only a logo, just showing like basically it's work in progress. My theme was here for these two picks was the fact that Sony wants to go back to legacy with a very well-known game in Uncharted and a game in Infamous that people loved that I don't think really got like its fair shake. It's really interesting game, really good games actually. But I do think that there's been rumors about them wanting to go back, and I think Infamous would be a great two games to remake there. I hope, and this is kind of based on a conversation that we had last week and something that you said, that someone like Housemarque would make this. That'd be very cool. I think that's really up their alley. So this entire State of Play is about bringing back the identity of PlayStation. And you can't do that better without two games, two franchises that are amongst the most beloved. And when you think about PlayStation, these are our games that come up. I mean, they launched the PlayStation 4 with Second Son. So they really had a lot of confidence in the franchise back then. And I hope that they instill that confidence back again when they announce these remakes.
Yeah, I think this would be great. I would be very curious to see who makes it in terms of whether it's Sucker Punch themselves, because
Sucker Punch could be,
they are done with Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah.
They are not making any more content for the Legends multiplayer mode, which was kind of a gut punch, but that's what it is. So clearly they're moving on. And maybe they have been working on some things simultaneous to Ghost of Yotei, where this is maybe something that could happen in the next year or two. I think that'd be cool for them to kind of go back to their roots a little bit and take a little break from Ghost as a series. I think you've done pretty well. You've made two really solid games. I think it's time for people to miss that franchise for a little while and maybe go back to a franchise that people have missed for a long time, like Infamous. All right. Now, my next prediction here is Media Molecule is going to pop back up finally. And not exactly the sexiest studio to talk about on the list of PlayStation's first party, right? Because they've had a lot more failures than triumphs at this stage of the game. Sackboy, my kid loved it, but no one else did. Little Big Planet never really took hold. Dreams, they came crashing down. Nobody's...
That shit became nightmares real quick.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to tell you. But from what we've heard, they are moving away from these build your game, build your adventure kind of things into something that is a more traditional story-driven type of experience. And I think that is going to be true. What I wrestled with was whether I wanted to predict that they're going to go back and take an IP from PlayStation's catalog and make it their own, or if they were going to do something original. I still think that they're going to do something original. I just don't know what I want to say on like exactly what it's going to be, but I guess in my brain, I'm thinking something along the same lines as like a Kenna, but I could see them doing something kind of whimsical like that. But not too cutesy to the point where it's like Sackboy all over again, just a different mascot. I think they're going to probably try to level up a little bit and get to that Pixar-ish game.
Yeah.
And I think it could go over pretty well. It's just going to be a matter of how interesting the IP is and what they do from a gameplay standpoint that makes it stand out. But I do think this is their last try at making something that actually goes over well, because I do think this is a talented team. And they are kind of, I wouldn't say that they're the Double Fine of PlayStation, but they do have that creative spark that is a little bit out of left field a bit. Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go a little quirkier, even in like a Psychonauts type of way too.
Yeah, I was going to say like a Psychonauts thing, where Psychonauts is clearly Double Fine's biggest game.
100%.
In terms of like scale,
Yeah, so if they can do something along those lines, I think that'd be dope.
I was doing research on predictions, and I did come across Media Molecule, and one of the things that I did see is that they were working on open world elements and definitely doing something that is different from what they've done before. So I like that prediction. They're an interesting studio, for sure.
Let's do your last prediction. This is the big one, so let's talk about it.
It's Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, new trailer, and I think they're gonna say it's coming out in 2027, even though it's probably not. But again, trying to make sure that everybody is aware of the game, that it's coming quote unquote soon. I think this is one of those moments where PlayStation rather not talk about this game right now, but their hand's been forced in terms of what they have to show to kind of up that bar, like I talked about early on. And I think that this is going to be something where we already saw the reveal, but I think it's time that we see more. We see more gameplay. There's a new character that's supposedly going to be a really good part of the game, and that's also voiced by Troy Baker. I think we'll probably see him on there as well. So I think we're going to see some elements of the game, but I do think this is more or less PlayStation feeling like we have to show it. It's one of our biggest original IPs that we already announced, and we have to make sure that we're putting everything we have into this, because this has to be the thing where, it really cements our legacy beyond where we are right now.
To your point, it needs to kind of cement what PlayStation stands for, what we should expect of them moving forward, and just how they treat new IP going forward as well. And it also just needs to be time for Naughty Dog to show us what the hell they're doing. It really is. Yeah. It's just time. We've heard Jason Schreier mention that PlayStation internally is not too happy with the fact that their output has been what it is. I think the blame can go a bunch of different ways there, because, of course, Naughty Dog has been doing Naughty Dog things for better or for worse, and it does feel like they've kind of maybe overextended themselves, or they're just kind of lollygagging a little bit. But also PlayStation did kind of send them off to go make a live service game that they couldn't make, and then that set them back. So I think blame goes in different directions there, but nevertheless, I think this makes sense to be here, and I would love to see it, because I do think, to your point, we got to see some more. We got to know what's going on with this game. What exactly is this thing? Like they showed like a little brief snippet of like her dropping down with that weird red electronic sword looking thing.
Yeah.
And it looked dope, but why do I need to care about this game? What makes this world interesting besides just the 80s references? And what are you doing that is justifying the development time being what it is, too? Because that's what also makes me curious. My last prediction is probably the unsexiest one. This is the missionary prediction right here. This is condom on. You just lift the legs back. We're going to fuck. We're going to have intercourse. Yeah. Just pull the panties to the side. This is all this is. My logic is that Marathon will be added to PS Plus Extra in Premium, and that as Season 2, Nightfall, launches, it will get a free weekend as well. This is to address a couple things. Number one, the price of PS Plus going up without any sort of added value. I think they need to address that immediately. They need to add something that is relevant, or trying to be more relevant in the case of Marathon. And this is a great way to do that. And they also just need to make this feel exciting. They need to make it feel exciting to care about Marathon, or to give it the first try you never did when it first came out. And I think the easiest way to do that is to say, hey, instead of you forking over $40, try it for a weekend, get in on this, have a good time. If you're liking what you have, subscribe to PS Plus, and then you can play it as much as you want. And then that's kind of addressing the immediate wound of like charging people out the ass for something that's not changing in terms of value. So again, not a sexy pick, but just something I think they need to do to kind of triage the problem. And hopefully they do something. If it's not this, I hope it's something else.
I was just going to say, let me piggyback on that a little bit. There could be a chance where PlayStation comes out and has like a montage of games that are going to release on the PS Plus, just based on the price hike and the criticism they got. That there might be some pretty major games coming to PS Plus, and we'll see that at the show. So I'm hoping that's true. So. I'm hoping Marathon's on there too, because that Marathon, Bungie, they need the love, all the love they can possibly get right now.
Yeah, I would put that 2D God of War in there too. I throw that in there. Why not? Yeah. It's out of the zeitgeist. No one's going back to buy that thing. Put it in there.
Yeah.
Maybe Helldivers too, Something. Especially if it's live service stuff, because that's going to compel people to stay subscribed. But nevertheless, those are our first party predictions. We are going to shift gears now into the third party predictions, but we didn't want to waste a space on GTA 6 because it's the elephant in the room. So we're going to address that first before we get into our third party predictions. And let's just talk about it, Pablo, straight up. Do we think GTA 6 will be featured at the State of Play showcase? Why or why not?
I don't think so. I think that maybe outside of PlayStation's control, maybe, Rockstar's like, nah, we're doing this on our own. But I also think that PlayStation needs to, like what the theme of the whole show is, reassert their dominance and procure their future. And I think they have to do that via their games and kind of show out the things that people want to see and provide that for them. I think that there's a lot of people thinking, well, it's going to be huge, so there's nothing bigger than Grand Theft Auto. But I don't think it's going to be here. Plus, we have a little bit of information on them saying that they're going to start marketing at the end of June. That doesn't really mean anything because, they can just do a trailer here and people will be like, holy shit. But yeah. I don't think it's going to be here.
I don't think it's going to be here either. And it's mostly just because Rockstar does not need state of play. And I think that some people are going to be a little irritated to hear that, but the internet's impatience is not Rockstar's responsibility. I think there's been a lot of people who have been very much aggressive about they should have had trailer number 3 by now. And there was all these like rumors of a certain day where it was going to happen too. And then there was all the pre-order stuff going around as well. And I think people just got their heart set on something happening that day or that week. And when it didn't, all of a sudden everyone's like, I don't know what's going on with Rockstar, man. Is this game in trouble? And it's like, I think people need to calm down and just wait until Rockstar's ready to do it. They are marching to the beat of their own drum. They're not following typical marketing rollout protocol because they don't fucking have to. They don't.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to make a trailer 3, Pablo. They can just say November 19th, we'll see you there. And that's it. And you're all going to show up just like me and Pablo will. It does not matter. So I think with that in mind, just that alone, it's just not it's not going to happen. I'd love for it to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen.
And it would dominate the conversation too much to where it doesn't matter what PlayStation shows. Nobody's going to be talking about Intergalactic. Nobody's going to be talking Cory Barlog's game.
That's a great
Everybody's
point.
going to be talking about Grand Theft Auto. And even if it's a 30-second short teaser, that's going to dominate the conversation. And all this for naught.
That circles right back to what you said at the top of this about just the fact that PlayStation needs to make a statement about where they're heading as a brand. You can't make a statement about yourself and then point to a third party and say, there's our statement. You can't do that. That's weird. So it'll come around. We'll see it when it's time, but it's not time. I don't think this isn't it. But it is time to talk third party predictions outside of GTA 6, Pablo. I'll give it to you first, man. Tell me your first prediction on the third party side.
Yeah, I think we're going to finally see a sequel to Black Myth Wukong, Black Myth Zong Kui. I think it's time, man. This is a game that came out on everything eventually, but has very close ties to PlayStation as it came out there first. And, it was announced that they were working on it. And I think it's time. I think it's a game that's going to come out fairly soon in the next year. And I think it's going to be on the show.
I mean, just based on the fact that they showed Black Myth so early the first time around and we waited a lifetime, I think they're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to see trailers of this thing probably for the next 4 years. And it'll eventually come out. I'm not super convinced it's coming out soon, but eventually they kind of move at their own pace over there. But hey, they have a right to. Obviously, Black Myth Wukong went over very well. It wasn't quite for me, but I can definitely see why people liked it. And I hope this game delivers. I really do. Now for mine, okay, so I'm going to be a little bit wonky here and combine my first 2 predictions. Okay. So let me kind of walk you through this one. Much like what they did with the Konami section of the last State of Play, that next studio is going to be Remedy. They're going to fill in that slot of, hey, we're going to go to Remedy Studios. We're going to talk to Sam Lake. Here's what's going on over there. And Control Resonant is going to be the first thing they show, which we all kind of expect to be there because they've showed it a couple times already. New trailer, but also a release date. And then my second part of that is they're also going to say, hey, this is what's coming out this year with Control, but next year, Max Payne 1 and 2 Remake. Here's your first trailer. So that's kind of my 1-2 punch. Pablo, thoughts? Talk to me.
Do you think they'll replace James McCaffrey or they'll use what's already been recorded for 1 and 2?
I think they're keeping James's voice acting all the way. I think they're going to do that. And then if there's ever a new Max Payne 4, then they probably figure out something else.
Then Troy Baker will do his best James McCaffrey.
Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I just think that it's time for Remedy to make a statement of their own in some respects because they've kind of dwindled a little bit. Alan Wake 2 didn't sell as much, even though I loved it. FBC Firebreak was a bunch of what the fuck. So they got to get back into it.
I love this prediction. Remedy has said that Control 2, that the release date was coming out soon. So, I mean, it doesn't get any sooner than that. So hopefully we see that. I thought that it would be funny if Sony kind of trolls people and they throw out the Rockstar logo and people's like, "Oh shit!" And it's
you can't do that.
Max Payne 1 and 2 because Rockstar is in co-development as well. But
do you know how many death threats would happen?
Quite a bit. Yeah.
You know how many people would show their buttholes to the developers at Rockstar until they get a fucking GTA trailer? That's not that. By the way, guys, that's happened before.
Yeah, that wasn't just something we made up. That's a thing that's happened.
I don't know why Pablo sends those pictures out like that. It's crazy. But let's go ahead and move
I have
on,
it
man.
saved already. I don't want it to go to waste. You know?
Hey, that's nasty. All right. I'm going to work on my dry mouth while you talk to me about the next prediction that you got on your list here. What do you got, man?
I got Star Wars Zero Company trailer gameplay. I think it's summer 2026. And what I mean by that is within the next couple of months, like August, the latest. This is a game that's really interesting, a game that a lot of people don't know about, and it's pretty ambitious. It is from some developers that worked on XCOM, a new studio, and it has a lot of really dope elements. Obviously, it's, what you would expect from an XCOM game, but it also has this thing called the Den, where you go out and you speak to your team members, and you're kind of creating relationships between them, kind of like you did in Mass Effect. So it's ambitious, it's doing a lot of things. It's set within the Star Wars world as well. So it has a lot going for it, and I think it's time for them to really show out and get people talking about this game, because I don't think a lot of people even know about this game, really, when you think about it. And it's not this small game being made. It's a game being in conjunction with Respawn, and it's supposed to be like a pretty big game. So I hope that they're able to kind of showcase it. There's a lot of elements going on with the game, so it's going to be hard to really kind of showcase it properly, but I hope that they do a good enough job to people understand this is XCOM meets Mass Effect, and I hope it gets people kind of hyped for it, because I'm definitely hyped.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, I think it could go over really well. Obviously, Star Wars as an IP really needs a shot in the arm. I think maybe an easy win is just having a cool game that comes out that just kind of makes you go, all right, this is cool. I think that's part of it. I also think that PlayStation was banking on the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake being a thing by now. So I do think they are trying to find that Star Wars project they can get behind. So this could slot in really nicely as a replacement for that. So it's actually pretty plausible. I think this might be one that might actually happen. So that would definitely be cool. And I'm really curious to see what they do narratively, like to your point with the Mass Effect kind of parallels. That could be really interesting because if they pull that off, that adds a whole new dimension to this genre that I think a lot of people would love to see, including myself.
Well, not only that, though, the fact that you're building these relationships, and there's permadeath in this game, like there are in XCOM games.
That's
so losing
crazy. That's
a
cool.
team member that you're like, oh my god, you were so attached to, and and there's also little things like there's non-combat missions that you can go on, and you'll make narrative choices that will impact the future of the game as well. I mean, there's a lot going on here. And to your point, there's something to be said about a cool game set within a known IP, a known franchise. I mean, Marvel's Midnight Suns did it. I thought that was a super dope, really fun game within the Marvel universe that was completely different from what we've ever seen. And I thought it was a really cool entry into the Marvel video game library. So I'm looking forward to this, man.
Yeah, it could be great. It really could. Let's move on. So this is actually my third prediction because my first two were Control and Max Payne kind of bundled together. So I'll jump to my next one. Let's talk Silent Hill for a little bit. So, I'm going with Silent Hill Townfall. I think that is going to get another trailer. It is going to get a release date. It is going to come out in October. And it is going to be a pretty interesting trailer that I think will continue to show what makes it so unique compared to other Silent Hill titles. I really liked what I saw of the game when they first revealed it, and I watched the Silent Hill transmission because I'm a complete dork and I love Silent Hill. And I got a feel for what they were trying to do with the environments and just the overall tone and vibe of the game, and I think they're onto something really cool here. Even if it's not this long-winded experience, it could be something really short, sweet, and impactful. And I like some of the things they're doing to cross together some other types of horror games, like a little bit of Alien Isolation's in here, a little bit of Condemned Criminal Origins in here for some of you old heads that played the 360 game.
Series, yeah.
A little bit of that's in here, and I think that's a really interesting blend with the Silent Hill universe. So it can be really cool to see this game just continue to get some shine on a stage like this, and hopefully perform just as well as Silent Hill F and Silent Hill 2 Remake did. But I do think we're going to see it again, and this is going to be their focus over at Konami for this showcase. But that's my Silent Hill prediction.
Yeah, let's keep it within Silent Hill. Yeah. I do think that within that, I think they're also going to show a first look into the Silent Hill remake. I think Bloober's working on that. I think that's a kind of good partnership where they'll show the immediate future of Silent Hill with Townfall, and then they'll go into the future of Silent Hill with Silent Hill 1 Remake, which I'm really looking forward to. Silent Hill 2, I think, was my 2024 game of the year. I'm in on the franchise like I've never been before, and I'm really looking forward to what Townfall is, but I'm also looking forward to what the next Silent Hill is in terms of the first one being a remake. So I'm down for this, man. I'm really excited. I hope it's there.
Yeah, I'm a little doubtful. I would love to see this, but I think Konami has seemed to want to just focus on one Silent Hill at a time each year. But I do think it does make sense to kind of show where Silent Hill's headed next. And almost the same way that they do Resident Evils, where they have the remake and they have the new entry. Then they have a remake and then they have a new entry. I think that's a really cool cadence that I think makes a lot of sense from the Resident Evil world. And I think it can work well here too. So I'd love to see this. But yeah.
Let me do my next one because I feel like your last one is pretty big.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
So I got Hogwarts Legacy 2 being revealed. The first Hogwarts Legacy was shown at a PlayStation State of Play, so I think they're going to continue that tradition here with Part 2, which is heavily rumored and being close to release, apparently. I don't know if they're going to talk about release dates or anything, but I do think we're going to see a trailer. Hogwarts Legacy was fantastic. I love that game. I am a Harry Potter fan, so it did a lot for me. You, not so much, right? You're not like a huge Harry Potter fan, but I
got into it late, dude. I got into it very late.
Yeah. So, I love it. I just went through all the audiobooks with the full cast in Audible. Love that. So I'm ready for more Harry Potter, and I feel like Hogwarts Legacy 2, I hope they stick the landing of the sequel, but I am really looking forward to this game, and I hope that they show it here.
It's funny that you said you're going to cover yours first because mine's the bigger one. I think this is the bigger one because of
really?
Hogwarts. It's Hogwarts Legacy, dude. Like this game sold, the first game sold crazy, and Harry Potter. I mean, the Wizarding World is like that is one of the biggest IP in all the land.
It's big worldwide, but I think when it comes to PlayStation, like PlayStation fans, I think your next prediction is like, okay, this is really what people want to see. Next,
I loved Hogwarts Legacy, and ironically, what got me into Harry Potter was Hogwarts Legacy because
that's right.
I was starting to really like what I was seeing of the game itself, and I'm like, all right, let me start with the books because everyone's like the books. They're the ones. I did the audiobooks thing. Those are fantastic. I really got into it pretty big, and I thought, okay, let me switch to the movies. Movies were cool. I enjoyed the movies for what they were. Then I got to the game, and I'm like, oh, this is good because now I know what everything means. I get the references, and I'm like, oh, they really did their thing. So if they can bring a lot of that back, and I'll be interested to see where they go, like timeline-wise, too. If it stays in the past, after the events of the first Hogwarts Legacy, before that, like they have a lot of wiggle room that I think is really interesting.
Oh, there's a lot. Yeah,
it could be fun.
I have a feeling that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is going to be something where it's going to be more closely attached to what we know about Harry Potter. I would not be shocked if it's out this year because the Harry Potter show on HBO is starting in December as well. Kind of marrying that together, I think would be really smart. But yeah, man, good point about the timeline. There's so much they can do.
Yeah, something about that universe just kind of does it for me now in ways that it didn't used to. But yeah, very excited to see what they do next year for sure. My final third-party prediction: Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 is going to get its first teaser trailer. That little groundswell is starting to happen again, where the developers are talking a little bit too much now, and it's like, I finished the game 40 times already. We're kind of polishing at this point. So I'm like, all right, if you're doing that means, first of all, that means you guys are incredible at what you're doing because your workflow is A1 to be able to churn this kind of a big game out that soon. That's number one. But number two, and more importantly, this is a sign that I think that they want to kind of just go ahead and say, yes, we're doing it. It's real. It's coming sooner than you think. You're right. You're right about all those things. It's happening, and we're going to show it here for the first time. I think that'd be great. Now, that being said, they've got to be careful. The Final Fantasy community is a little touchy about some of the changes that have been happening narratively. If you come in with one of those trailers that's just throwing everything upside down too much and you're getting too wackadoo with your shit, and people are going to be like, all right, too many questions, too much skepticism now, and then it kind of ruins the moment. So I think if they are very tactful about the type of trailer that it is, then it can definitely be one of those, like, next to the One More Thing trailers that kind of round out the show. But yeah, I think it's about that time to see what they got going on with that finale.
The director of the game was on social media saying, we know you guys love Chadley, and don't worry, he's going to have a huge implications in the third game. Everybody's like, who loves Chadley?
Only thing I was hoping would not be there was probably Obo.
Well, I mean, he's gonna have to because he's with Professor Hojo and Sephiroth, all that. He's probably gonna be something. He's probably gonna show up and be something. Oh my God, he was this thing the whole time. But that would not be my favorite thing about that game.
Well, look, man, we have behaved very well up to this point, but we did want to take a second to throw caution to the wind and make one Hail Mary Megaton prediction, even if it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but still even just faintly plausible. So me and Pablo each picked just one Megaton. And Pablo, I'm going to give you the honors of going first. If you had to throw caution to the wind and make that one Megaton prediction, what would it be?
Okay, before I do that, what's your prediction of what my Megaton prediction is going to be?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I mean, I can go Sly Cooper. I can go Kingdom Hearts 4. I can do that.
Okay, see, I don't even know why you're my friend if you can't predict that I'm going to say Bloodborne 2. Okay?
Yeah, but who's doing it?
But look, I think it's, okay, when there's smoke, there's fire, right? And I think all this stuff about Cerulean Onslaught, I think there might be some rumblings about a new game being made. I do think that it would be really interesting and really smart if FromSoft is making a game for Nintendo with Dustbloods, and they're going to make a game for PlayStation with Bloodborne 2. I don't think it would be a huge ask or even take a lot of convincing for Miyazaki, since Miyazaki has said that Bloodborne is his quintessential video game, meaning when he thinks about what a video game should be, it's Bloodborne. Everything about Bloodborne is exactly what he thinks a Souls-like game should be, and it is his magnum opus. It is his perfect game according to him, and if PlayStation, who owns the IP, reaches out and like, we want part 2, I don't think he would be saying no. And I think that obviously this is 99.9% not going to happen, but there is that slight 0.5% where it could. And, you know, that would be huge. That would be massive. I think that would really get the internet talking. But I think that if they're going to do that, it's not going to be a remaster of the first game or a remake. I think it would be a part 2. And I think that's, if I'm looking at Megaton predictions, that's where I'm at.
Man. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Yeah, not sure if that's realistic, but I mean, I just don't know how long they can continue ignoring the outcry for it.
Yeah.
If you're going to remake everything else under the sun, then what are we doing? Because it should happen. That's all I have to say.
Now, I'm interested to see yours. In a million years, I couldn't even guess yours.
I had some thoughts. I was like, you know what? Final Fantasy 17 maybe gets a teaser, and I'm like, nah. If I'm already predicting Final Fantasy Remake Part 3, they're not going to double dip like that, no. Then I was like, okay, let's look at first-party stuff. What makes sense? And only one thing did. And so I'm going to say Ben Studio is going to tease, because they're not far enough along to make this anytime soon, but they're going to be doing SOCOM. They're bringing it back.
That'd be dope.
Live service is not going anywhere, Pablo. We know it. Everybody else knows it. They are so headstrong about this. They are willing to rebrand Fair Games into something else and still put it out and think that's going to make a damn difference, right? I think whatever Bend is doing is going to be SOCOM related. I think it goes back to what you talked about, which I thought was really astute, which is that it's about getting the identity of PlayStation back piece by piece, step by step. And if you're wanting a little of that, a little live service, that's the perfect marriage. You're taking a franchise people know, love, miss, and want back desperately, and you're putting it into a live service space that you're desperately trying to penetrate. You need something that is identifiable, that is not a brand new IP that people are going to have questions or doubts about. It's not some weird spin-off of an IP you already have, like a Horizon Hunters Gathering. It needs to be something people know, are familiar with, and is distinctively PlayStation, down to its balls. And this is this is the one. Again, I think it's a teaser. I think we see a logo. Kind of what they did with the God of War remake trilogy. Hey, we're doing this. Going to be a while before you see it, but just know it's coming. We're ready to share more. We'll share more. And I think they're going to leave it there. And people will, especially if you're an old head, you're going to lose your shit. And I will too. So
I mean, that would be absolutely incredible if that happens. We predicted a pretty solid show here. And if it closed out with any of these two things, this would go down as the biggest state of play ever.
Pretty bold predictions, big swings. This is all not even counting Wolverine. We didn't even talk about Wolverine itself and how that might go over with people. If that does go over well, then that's a huge, huge boon for them as it is. And of course, Marvel Tokon. So yeah.
Yeah. They'll do the thing with Wolverine, what they've done with Spider-Man, where they'll show like a extended gameplay clip.
I need that.
Like, of a mission. And that's exactly right. We do need that. And I hope that goes over well, because there's a lot of questions about that game. People are really excited about it, but they're like, okay, moment to moment, traversal, combat. Like, how does that all really look out? So we'll see.
What I will say, Pablo, where Wolverine is placed on this showcase will tell you what this showcase is made of. If they lead with Wolverine, they got some heat towards the end.
They got the goods. Yeah.
Now, if they save Wolverine towards the end, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. If it's what you already know, I'm not saying that Wolverine would be a disappointment, especially if it looks good. But if it's the last thing they hold out on, Pablo, 98% of our predictions are not happening. And most people's predictions are not happening. And it's going to be very pedestrian. It's probably going to be more like, here's Marvel Tokon's latest group of characters we're showing off. And, you know,
Carnage is being rumored, all that stuff. Yeah.
You ain't getting no damn God of War Bayonetta. You're not getting that. So keep special attention to the sequencing of this.
There's also another point to this where people are like, well, it's coming out in theaters. They're going to show it in theaters. That means it's going to be huge. But one little point of that is that it's coming out at Alamo theaters that actually Sony owns anyway.
Oh,
so
all right.
Sony owns them to begin with. So it's no skin off their nose. It's like, oh, just maybe every state of play going forward is going to be shown in a theater. And it doesn't mean anything. But I don't know. I'm choosing to pick that it does mean something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am too. I think they need a big shot in the arm, and let's hope this does just that. But that is going to do it for our predictions, and that is also going to do it for this week's episode of the PlayStation Effect. We will be back with reactions to the showcase. Now, it's important to mention a little bit of housekeeping. We are going to wait until after the showcase happens before we record our next episode. So it may be delayed. You might get it on a Wednesday instead of our usual Tuesday slot, but that's just because we don't want to fall out of the zeitgeist. We're going to just go ahead and take a pause and make sure we get our thoughts collected on what we see at the show, and then record a reactions episode for the following day. So stay tuned for that. The best way to do that is to follow the show right where you are right now, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, listening to it on your damn web browser, wherever you happen to be. We appreciate you all the same, and hopefully you enjoyed this little ride through Prediction Lane. Until next time, stay safe, save often, and we'll see you next week. Take it easy.